Hello and welcome back to the Masonic Roundtable, a weekly program where Masons from around the world get together to talk about Masonic news and opinions in a friendly and social manner. The following disclaimer applies for tonight's broadcast. The thoughts and opinions here are solely those of the participants and do not reflect any Grand Lodge statements or positions. Please keep your comments open to the public and on the level. You all know me. My name is Jason Richards, past Master Vacation Lodge number 16 in Clifton, Virginia, and member of the Colonial Lodge number 1821 in Washington, D.C., as well as Lafayette Lodge number 79 in Zanesville, Ohio. And next up, we have Brother Joe Martinez.
Hello and good evening. Joe Martinez, not a past master, and we're going to talk about that tonight, yet. Currently worshipful master of Manassas Lodge number 182 in Manassas, Virginia. I'm also a member of Benjamin B. French Lodge number 15 in the District of Columbia. And let's see what else. A member of Harmon Lodge number 420 in the Grand Lodge of North Carolina. Woo! And Ezekiel Bates Lodge in Attleboro, Massachusetts. I think that's enough for today. Good to see you.
Good to see you too.
Hello.
And that's all we've got tonight.
The end. Hello.
The end. Oh my goodness. So we have finally gotten to the point in TMR where we're breaking the rule of three, and we're going down to two. John is doing a little bit of travel for work, and then RJ might be on in a little bit. We'll see. But tonight, before we get into our topic, which is the past master, I want to give a shout out to all of our friends and patrons over at Patreon. Thank you all so
Patreon.
much for Patreon. Thank you all so much for what you do to support the show. It's awesome. It keeps the lights on, and we get to do some really cool things with y'all, like special, holiday gift exchanges. And there's
Yes.
a TMR Patreon Facebook group where we all hang out and have some great conversations. So
Yep.
go to
Indeed. Indeed.
patreon.com/the Masonic Roundtable and take a look because we'd love to see you there.
We don't have any of the
Now,
jazzy blue bars that go by tonight. Sorry. So I'll just do this evening.
okay, yeah, you should. John hasn't.
Patreon.com/the Masonic Roundtable.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I'm running the tech tonight. John usually runs it for TMR, but you just
Adapt and
gotta
overcome. Adapt
adapt and
and
overcome.
overcome.
Absolutely.
That I was thinking about it once we realized that it was just going to be you and I. How much are you and I going to talk over each other this episode? Because I'm feeling like a lot.
Probably.
Yeah. Yeah. So
There's an ever so slight delay between like when we think someone has stopped talking and when we start, and it's a thing.
it is a thing. And as you've come to learn, I never stop talking. Ever,
No,
ever, ever, ever.
no,
But I will
that's
stop
what I
talking
love about
tonight
you.
because exactly, and I love you too. But that's what we're going to talk about tonight because I won't be doing much talking because I am not and have no experience being a past master. But my illustrious colleague to my left, he does. So we're going to sit down with Jason and he's going to tell us about all the fun experiences that he has had as a past master and how I
And
hope to get there one.
the funny thing about that is my past master journey was nothing if not a bit unconventional.
Ooh,
And so we will we'll see. Not as unconventional as going around for a victory lap like Brother Martinez here, but
this is not, we're not calling that a victory lap. So I don't know where that came from, but we need to strike that crap from the record right now. So
it's consolation lap. I don't know.
that is not going on the bingo card. Victory lap.
All right. So we have talked through a bunch of officers in the lodge, going from the junior steward all the way up to the master or the worshipful master, which is the honorific. Um, Master is the title. But what is this thing called past master? Is it is it a title? Is it an officer position? Like what is it and why do we have them, Joe?
It's all the things. So I went into the archives and I found probably every single host's favorite place to find things, the short talk bulletins. The
I
short talk bulletins. I was like, ooh,
thought you
that'll
were
be
gonna
fun.
say Phoenix Masonry.
Now that's actually got a good bit of actual research in it and fun stuff. We're gonna go to the short talk bulletins instead. So for those who don't know,
It could
the
be
short
worse. It
talk
could be Claudie.
it could hey, I like Claudie. I love Carl Claudie. I have his I have his books. In fact, they
Ooh.
print new ones. In the if you're a member of the Grand Lodge of Massachusetts or you shop at their store, they print new hardbound copies, and I actually hand out Claudies to new dudes. There's some good nuggets in there. Don't poo poo on it hard.
I just the
Okay,
old
it's
Tyler
okay.
Talks book. Like each page full of cringe.
No, gotcha. Okay, I will give you that. So the Freemate the 3 degree books from Claudie
Hmm.
was a past master. Um, and that's when people start to get really pontificating and really verbose is when they become a past master. So and Jason's going to tell us about that, but all kidding aside, we went to the short talk bulletin. So for those who don't know, the short talk bulletins have been published for what, almost 100 years now. Is it,
Over, I
are they at
think.
100 years? Over 100 years, yeah. So every month they would have a little bulletin which was I guess a tiny little piece of education, and some of the stuff in there was actually really decent. Some of the stuff is really eye roll worthy and bad. But they had some good stuff. So I went digging in the archives and we found a good definition for a past master. So I'm going to read it. So this was written by unknown. Usually the better ones were written by unknown, but this is out of volume 9 in January 1931 of the Short Talk Bulletin. Past masters, you know where we're at. So it says
Joe,
the
by the
honorable.
way,
Yeah,
the Short
you
Talk
cut me off.
Bulletin is officially 100 years old.
Happy birthday. Happy
1923
birthday.
was volume 1.
1923, right on. So 100 years of just good stuff and eye rolling, everything in between. Just how we want it in our masonry. A little bit of everything, right? That's right.
Yep.
So,
As you
without
were.
further ado, as I was, um, says the honorable station of past master is usually honored by the brethren. Generally, it is considered as second in importance only to that of the presiding master, as he is a wise and good master who sees to it that the brethren of his lodge understand that past master is no empty title, but carries with it certain rights and privileges, certain duties and responsibilities, all set forth in the general body of Masonic law, although differing in some respects in different jurisdictions, certain unwritten attributes which become more or less important according to the character and abilities of the individual past master. So this goes on to say also, it comes from an English perspective, and the past master actually does have a role to play in the lodge in places like the United Grand Lodge of England and jurisdictions that use that type of lodge structure. And we'll get into some of those differences. But in American jurisdictions, for example, a past master does not serve an officer role in a lodge. He is someone who has sat in the chair of worshipful master or in the oriental chair, has successfully completed some term of office. Here in Virginia, it is a full year. So to be a past master, you have to complete a full year as a worshipful master. And this is the part I messed up on, your replacement needs to be elected and installed. And then you become a past master. So that's what I goofed up on. Oopsie daisy. Here I am. But, and in most jurisdictions, and I think in Virginia, it's the same thing. Past masters are members of the Grand Lodge. Some places they are not, and some places they are, but you hold membership in the Grand Lodge of that jurisdiction. So I guess we'll start there with American jurisdictions. We have a very fine American jurisdiction past master in the person of Jason Richards.
Yeah, and so yeah, especially in Virginia, you know, you become a past master once you have held the position of master of the lodge and your successor has been both elected and installed. And so you are technically master of your lodge, as good brother Martinez has found out this year, until such a time as um, your replacement has been installed, has gone through the installation process, and has the hat. Um, the hat's very important, especially in Virginia.
Very, very important. Yeah. So,
Yeah,
and I love that. I love that people are chiming in on YouTube. So, brother Gary Neal, he's in Maryland. You're a pass master when you finish 1 year, even if you continue in office.
and I believe in DC, um, it's either similar or you're considered past master as soon as you're elected and installed.
Installed.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
because in DC they do some things, some little things before the installation just for the past masters, which is really cool.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, but yeah, absolutely. Chime in. I see brothers and friends from all over the country chime in with what your jurisdiction does, so we can bring it up and talk about it. But when I read the short talk bulletin, it did pique my curiosity into, and I think you've seen this, Jason, more than once. I know I have. So lodges in the old countries in England, UGLE lodges, things like that follow those constitutions. The immediate past master, the person who just got kicked out of office, is actually an officer position in the lodge. So they hold office, and your junior pastor holds an office in the lodge the year he is quote unquote out as worshipful master. So it's a little bit different than what we have here. And
So your lodge used to do that as well, in the sense that your immediate past master became the Tyler, right?
so for a long time, yes, we did have and I actually didn't mind it. I go back and forth on this. So the tradition at Manasseh Lodge was, once you came out of the chair and were and your successor was installed and you became a past master, you sat a year outside as the Tyler of the lodge, for a couple of reasons. One of the big reasons was it's time for you to take off your hat of authority and to um, become a humbled individual once again. And there's no other place to be humbled than outside the door. So, so you got to give your successor time to learn how to be master and learn how to rule and govern his lodge and learn how to interact with his brothers in that position of service that he has for that year.
I
We'll
think
talk about
there's
the grumpy past. Go ahead.
I was going to say I think there's something to be said about a cooling off period too. For
Very much so.
those who haven't sat in the chair of master, it's a difficult job, and it is stressful, and it is emotional. Um, and I have found
I had a full
I
head of
have
hair in December of 2021. It's gone.
I don't believe you. Um, but I have known plenty of masters who just really stepped back, after that year, just because those 12 months had just taken so much out of them. Because I mean, it is literally a second, almost full-time vocation, being master of a lodge. There is so much to do, so much to oversee, so much to plan,
If you
so
do it
much to
right.
just,
If you do it right. If you do it right. Let's call a spade here, and let's be
yeah.
honest with each other. Um, we have been to many lodges where, exactly to your point, it really is a full-time job or a second job that you do after work, and you miss out on a lot of things, and you miss out on family time. But hopefully, you're like many of us, and our families are super supportive, and they help us grow as a person and as a master, right? Because they support us. But there are some masters that you still wonder after a year how they got elected and how are they presiding in that chair. Um, and it varies from person to person and jurisdiction to jurisdiction. Some jurisdictions have different requirements to be master. We all know how Virginia's is. We know how some of the other jurisdictions that we're a member of are. Some are really loosey goosey with who they elect as master and what their duties are. But some people, like
It's the
Jason, I know.
almighty it's the almighty progressive line, right?
I wish we need a soundboard to just so things just shoot out when we say the words that I don't want to hear. Um,
Well,
yeah.
and so,
So
I get, I get the allure of a progressive line where you start all the way at the bottom and each year you just work your way up. It provides a, backlog of stability, it provides stability for the lodge, for the officers. You're not you're not getting to November and the outgoing master is like, "Oh my goodness, where like who's going to take over for me?" Um, the problem is you've got that stability and those assumptions that that next person in line is going to be master. And at least from what I've seen in the US where we have progressive lines, we do not do a good job as Masons of one, developing our future leaders, but then recognizing those members who just shouldn't be in that position. Not everybody should be master of the lodge.
No, you're
Like,
spot on, and I think and you know my opinion on progressive lines, but for those who don't, I'm generally not in favor of them, with exception. I am in favor of them when you have places, either it's a lodge or a jurisdiction or a rule in that place, that there need to be certain qualifications as you move up those progressive chairs, right? Like you have duties and you have responsibilities, and you need to actually do them, as opposed to just being a placeholder. I think what you were talking about, and correct me if I'm wrong, is
you're wrong.
progressive lines where I hate you. Where
No,
progressive
you don't.
lines where no, I don't. Where you actually just sit in a chair, and whether you do something or not, you will get elected to that next chair. I think that's the stigma of the progressive line, and that's how it casts a negative light on things. But look at traditional observance lodges. Some of them have progressive lines where, again, you have to be qualified to sit in that chair and sit in the chair above you. Some of those types of lodges have thrown out the idea of progressive lines, and they pick the right person for the right job. So there's many different ways to skin that bear, and yeah, and in a lot of places you don't have a say in the matter. You have to do what's always been done, because we don't innovate in masonry.
Huh,
We don't.
none whatsoever. No
We
innovations,
don't.
except Brother Ian says that in Tennessee, you get the past master title once you preside over 6 meetings.
Ooh, that's
And
nice.
so I'd be
Where's
interested
Tennessee?
to know if there's like if you must like have a minimum of 6 meetings a year, and lodges that do that, that kind of
Right.
underpins that, or if you just have to, get through half the year and then you're good.
Yeah. Well, and remember, a lot of places go dark in the summer too, so that cuts down some
Yeah.
meetings. And but brother Jose, who we know, he chimed in on your comment. He said in DC you get the past master degree before installation, which I thought was based on the English practice. So in Virginia here,
Oh,
you have to
it's
be.
different. Yeah, there's
Yep.
a difference between the past master degree and being a past master.
Enlighten me, worshipful sir.
Oh my goodness. So, in Virginia, you must have something called a virtual past master degree, which is
Degree.
yeah, which is a degree is actually in the Royal Arch system. And so if you're a Royal Arch Mason, you get the past master degree, and you can have it without having been a past master. In Virginia, in order to be elected as a junior or senior warden, you must have had the virtual past master degree.
Yep. And it's a chair degree. There's no secrets that you learn. There is and we can talk about this in a second. There are other constitutions that actually do a chair degree after you've been elected master, or after you've come out of the East, where you actually do learn other things. But I would say you've been through it. I've been through it. The past master degree that you need to become a warden, it's kind of a 5-minute degree on how to be a master. Here's your gavel, do your thing. That's pretty much it. You sit in the
It's
chair.
it's an
That's it.
exhortation to yeah, it's an exhortation to exercise your authority as master. Like
Right.
I think coming from a collegial organization and a fraternal organization, there's you know a need to preserve peace and harmony, but at the same time, within the confines of an open lodge meeting, the master rules and governs, and the master is law. And so
Right.
sometimes that's a bit of a shock to some new guys who are coming in. They
No,
get faced
absolutely,
with all
and I
sorts of
think
stuff.
there's, as much as I was making fun of it, there is, you do learn things like there is a difference between being an autocrat and a tyrant, right? There is a difference, and you do learn how to be the autocrat for the evening, which is not tyrannical. There are laws you need to follow, and you need to know when you can do things and when you can, and how you do things. So you do learn those kinds of things, but yeah, autocracy is weird in your American brain, right? Because we're so wedded to democratic systems and parliamentary systems that autocracy is like, whoa. And that's why we get a hat, and that's why we get a gavel, and that's why we're called worshipful, and all those things.
You're a benevolent
But yeah,
dictator.
benevolent dictator. Oh,
Yeah,
brother TJ replied, it's 6 stated communications in Tennessee.
perfect.
Boom. Two
Love it.
points to Tennessee, minus 1 point to Virginia. Yes.
This isn't Hogwarts, Joe.
No.
So
Oh man, sorry.
interesting question from our friend and brother Sun Card. How
Yes.
much different is it being the master of a daylight lodge versus an evening lodge?
I mean, I've
So
sat in daylight lodges,
me
and
too.
you have too, right? Yeah.
I would almost liken being master of a daylight lodge to like being master of a research lodge. There are many, there are many daylight lodges in Virginia that don't meet as often. Um, yes, Joe is Slytherin, go Ravenclaw, and typically, they daylight lodges may not have as many events as evening lodges, but it's
What is a
something
daylight
similar
lodge,
for,
Jason?
huh?
What's a daylight
A
lodge?
a daylight lodge is a lodge that meets during the day. So
What
I've
does it
been
mostly
I've been
consist of, though?
retired people.
Yes, that's right.
Yes.
For the
And
most part.
and so for the most part, I will say that uh, back probably close to a decade ago, I did visit a daylight lodge for the first time, and there were a group of us at work who literally went on our lunch break and visited a daylight lodge right down the street, and it was pretty cool. Um,
That's
yeah,
awesome.
so yeah, daylight lodges. I don't know if they confer degrees or not. I I will have to look into that one.
The one I've been. Oh, sorry, you froze for a second. The one I've been to in Virginia, they confer degrees, elect officers. It's a regular blue lodge. The 95% of the people there were past masters, who can
Yeah.
meet in the daytime. But they're sitting in chairs and they do business just like any other blue lodge does. So there's no difference that I've saw. But let's get back to so what's a past master? What's the point of a past master? What does a past master do, Jason? Tell us what you do. What do you do? Tell
What
us.
do I
I can
do?
tell you what past masters do, but I want
So
Jason to talk first.
the past master, hi Athena. Um, the past master is really there to be a guiding force and a source of support for the officers of the lodge. Um, I say that, um, because really they are essentially the lodge elders, if you will, and as a young master, um, it's important to have a group of individuals in the lodge who have been through the craziness before and have the ability to and the desire to mentor you through that. And so uh, it can it can be kind of lonely in the East. And so the master needs to surround himself with a cadre of just learned brethren who have been through it before. And that's really where I see the past master role being. There are a lot of past masters that become lodge instructors of work, lodge education officers. These are the pseudo officer positions who are where the incumbent is charged with helping nurture, shape, and grow the lodge, and increase the Masonic experience and better the Masonic experience for the members of the lodge. Oftentimes, the past masters sit on the sideline and they're like, I didn't do that. I wouldn't do that. That's not how
Say
it was
more.
done in my
Say
year.
more. Say more.
Well, ultimately, when you when you go from having complete authority as the benevolent dictator to being on the same level, even though Masonry has a bunch of them, as everybody else outside of the master, ultimately at the end of the day, you can't help but look at the workings of the lodge through the lens of what you did or in a lot of cases failed to do or didn't do. And so
Or
there's
what's always
this or what's always been done. Yes. And there are many brethren who are passionate about Freemasonry, which is awesome. And there are also many brethren who are passionate about their Freemasonry, which and don't leave time and space for others to experience Freemasonry a different way. And that's where it can become problematic.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that so like I said, Jason's talking to you from the experience of being that wise counsel and being that person
Ha!
who offer I've seen you do it once or twice. Okay, I didn't say every day, but you do it a little bit. Um and I can talk to you about my experience as a sitting master and reaching out to past masters, talking to past masters, asking for help and guidance from past masters. And unfortunately, what Jason said is pretty accurate. Your group of past masters really spans the gamut. You have those past masters that find it hard to distance themselves from that position of authority, and they choose to tell you how they do things with the intention of you need to do those things that same way. To the point where you have apathetic people who don't tell you anything and don't really care anymore, and are just sitting there checking a box. But you have a little bit of everything in between. I mean, I can tell you, I'm not going to give you names because this is going to stay on the internet forever. So, um, I've been lucky to have past masters that have given me guidance and have whispered wise counsel in my ear and told me, think, hey, maybe you should do something like this, or why haven't you thought about doing that? And it's been really useful and helpful advice. And then to Jason's point, you have those other past masters that cannot help but, while you're sitting in the East, stand up during lodge and challenge your authority or question decisions or comment on every damn thing you've said and done. Um, and just make that meeting go on longer and longer and longer. So you get both. I'm blessed to know the ones that helpful and are wise and are patient. Um, and I guess masonry as general is happy for the rest of them that pay their dues every year. And I'll leave it at that.
Well, and so back when I was master in 2017, um, I was very lucky at Acacia to have been surrounded by a really solid group of past masters who helped me really get through some very difficult situations in the lodge and up to and including having two past masters going back in the line um, to help fill it out. And of course that was a year or two after Um, I ended up getting out of the East, but when you have a core group of past masters who care about the lodge enough to be there and be present and give that advice, but also be willing to let the new master try things out his way. Like that is a sweet spot that really provides a great like fertile soil to grow the Masonic experience in. I was very lucky to have had a great cadre of past masters I could lean on back in 2017.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And I think that, I too, again, not having had my replacement installed yet, I've been blessed. And Jason knows many of the past masters that I get to call brother that sit in my lodge with me. But exactly to his point, they're all committed. They all care about the lodge, and they care about you as well,
Except
right? So
Clancy.
that except, well, Clancy is Right Worshipful Clancy, one of my favorite past masters. He's our district deputy this year, so very happy about
And he's
that.
amazing.
And he is super awesome, including Clancy. There's been that group that I've known ever since I joined that lodge that have always been those people, exactly to your point, that you look up to and look for advice on. Um, but again, there's always the picture. I keep looking at the picture because it's on YouTube about why is the picture up there? Are we streaming? Yeah.
It
Okay.
should be.
Um, yeah. Okay. Just checking. Oh, I did up. Anyway, sorry, sidetrack. Um, the picture we put up for
Squirrel.
this week's episode is squirrel. Is a bunch of curmudgeony old people. They give you wag their finger and make faces at you and stuff. And unfortunately, you do find those. I think in every lodge you have at least one of those that really get that stereotype going of the grumpy past master. Where nothing you do makes them happy, nothing the lodge does make them happy. Um, it's a different generation, and you're not doing the things that they did during their generation, so you are just a eventual disappointment to them across the board. So, um, yes, but it is what it is.
Yep.
Yeah.
And honestly, like when you're turning over complete executive autocracy every year, there are going to be feathers that get ruffled. And I very much don't understand how anything stays status quo from year to year to year. When you come in, you get like maybe 10 months to try to enact, organizational change. And maybe the problem is it's so difficult to do that there are brethren who say, okay, we'll just keep it even keeled.
No, you know what? That's an excellent point, and I think I'm going to channel some Ruark here. When we talk about, I know you've seen it. I personally got to see it at least the last 5 or 6 years. Lodge, and even in my lodge in DC, they are really good about having long range vision casting or strategic planning. Where it's like you got to have the right recipe for that, right? You got to have brothers that are all in line together that all kind of want to move in one direction, which you probably don't find in every lodge, and you've traveled to a bunch of lodges, so have I. It's a mix, right? Sometimes you get lodges where the officers are very different from one another, right? And you really get that large sweeping change year over year, and it's got to be exhausting, right, to pivot so quickly in one direction from year to year. But then there are some lodges that do a good bit of strategic planning, where it's like, hey, we have a mission and a vision, we have a 3-year plan, we have a 5-year plan, these are the things that we want to do, and everybody does it together. That's a rarity, but it can be done. And as we start to, I'm not going to say decline, as we start to shrink our membership and start to get more compact in how we do masonry, I think it's a good time to do it, right? You've got more and more people that you want to gravitate towards, as opposed to lodges of 500 or 600 people where you don't even know half of their names. So these are people that you can put these short-term and long-term plans in place with, and make some long-term effective change. And I know I'm sounding really TED talky, but strategic planning is a good thing. It's not a bad thing.
It is. Yeah, and it's a way to get buy-in across the officers. I think one place where Acacia was getting really great at strategic planning was in the budget and the building. You know, we have an old building. We have a building that is in massive need of repair and upgrades. And so, one of the things that I saw that I was very grateful for was from year to year, we would sit down, go through the budget, and try to forecast out like the fundraising we needed to do in order to be able to keep up with the cost of repairs and the repairs that needed to be done in the building. Um, you know, Suncard asked what my goal was in my year, and did I meet it? Um, I will just talk a little bit about it because I think there are some things um, that are relevant to the role of the past master, and it's part and parcel to what we're talking about here with change and strategic planning. My goal very much during my year was to implement sustainable change, because you can go in there like a tornado and just go crazy and uproot everything, and then if you don't have the buy-in of your officer line and probably your past masters, um, it you know once you become a past master and the next guy comes in, all of that can just revert very easily. And so I wanted to add more education to the lodge. I wanted to strengthen our relationship with our Prince Hall counterparts. Um, and there were a couple other little things here and there, but it was I was mostly focused on education and strengthening our camaraderie with Prince Hall. And I would say on the education piece, I was successful simply because, if nothing else, one of our past masters who signed my petition, Brother David Hill, we had him on way back early on in the Freemasonry in Australia episode. He ended up stepping in as lodge education officer. And so my way to really, shove education down everybody's throats was, okay, during dinner we're doing a big education program, but during the meeting we're doing a little itty bitty one. And so none of the past masters can complain, they still did, um, about a 90-second to 3.5 minute little spotlight on Masonic education. And that has continued through to this day, and that's something that I'm really proud of, because I do think that every Masonic communication should have something that you walk away with, and it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't have to be a 90-minute presentation, but it's got to be something, because otherwise, what are we doing here?
I don't know. I just show up. Yeah. But let's see. Oh, brother Ian again. I actually was going to touch on this, but he did, and I think it's probably a good time for it. Past Masters Night.
Yes,
Past Masters Night. I love Past Masters Night. Let me talk about it as a worshipful master,
because you don't have
and
to
then you
do anything for it.
That's right. So yeah, we had Past Masters Night last year, and I plan on doing it again this year. And some places do it differently. Some places will take a past master and he will preside as master for that evening. We did it a little bit differently, where we put past masters in every single chair, and all the officers got a night off, and we got to sit on the sidelines. And yeah, we had a past masters night, and every single chair had a past master in it, and it was fun. It was fun watching brothers who had not sat in an officer's chair for 20 years remember their stuff and remember it quickly. But yeah, it was a really fun night, and I definitely plan on doing it again. So that's my view on the past masters night.
And Brother Jose says that, during dinner at your lodge, Manasseh, you could even do a short piece on the proper way to blanch a green bean.
Yeah, I'm trying to find out how to boot him from the chat. Stand by, please.
No, no, no. We like Jose.
I like you, Jose.
um,
Past Masters
yeah,
Night. So,
no,
have you presided at a Past Masters Night?
I have not. And this gets back to, what I put in the chat. I haven't. I've kind of stepped away from my mother lodge and haven't been attending that regularly. Um, I am substitute Tyler at Joe's lodge, and so I am helping out quite a bit at Manasseh at the moment.
He's a great Tyler. Great. Great Tyler.
Joe prefers me outside the door.
Because then we don't have that talking over each other thing that we have on the Masonic Roundtable every Thursday night at 9:30 Eastern.
Just gavel
Yeah.
me down. Like,
I can't. I don't. They're all at Lodge. I don't have any gavels here.
no, no, I meant in lodge
Oh, at
itself.
Lodge. I'll bring one here
Yeah.
to the show. We can do it like that.
Okay. Uh, you have no power here. The past Masters Night, I have never presided. Um, I believe I went in as junior warden, the one past Master Night in 2018. But have not presided. We usually get some of our more seasoned past masters. Brother Brant, we like to get him to preside and shake off the old
He's no
cobwebs.
fun. He knows all his ritual. He's no fun. You got to get one that hasn't done ritual in like 30 years.
That's true.
That's fun. Yeah.
So ultimately, yeah, your past master is an advisor, right? Um, someone who has been through the storm, come out on the other side, and hopefully, has not been jaded to the point where they're set in their way and unwilling to provide counsel. And I
Well,
think that's a
or
street that goes both ways. Go ahead, Joe.
no, I was going to say what I thought you were going to say was got jaded and suffered from Masonic burnout, which we've talked about too. And their year was so busy and so jam packed and so stressful that they go from taking a little bit of a break to just saying screw it all. And you don't see them in lodge for a couple of years. So I think that has to do with lodges that have really healthy officer lines that are again moving towards a vision. Because there's I look at myself and me, I'm loud and I'm
No.
boisterous. Yeah, and I have an opinion. Um, but at least I think, and if anybody wants to chime in and disagree, please do so. Um, I think we do things moving towards a common vision. I just don't change the color of the walls just because I feel like it because I'm the autocrat. So, but many lodges where your officers are not moving towards a single vision, you can have a master that tries really hard for a year, um, gets burnout, and he's gone. And you don't see him again for a long time. So that happens, and it happens a lot.
There's one particular initiative that I tried to sponsor when I was master, and it just didn't go through. Um, so my lovely and amazing spouse is a graphic designer who focuses on branding, and she's brilliant and amazing. Oh my goodness. Um, and so I wanted to rebrand our lodge's logo because our lodge's logo was a like 20-year-old stock pixelated graphic, and it was horrifically bad. And so I had my lovely spouse um, create a new branded logo that was modern and sleek, and I thought amazing. But I also had her re-sketch the old logo and recreate it in an expandable like vector format. So it got rid of all of the quality issues. And I took the
Mm.
new logo to the past masters and the officers and I said, "Hey, what do you think? I really like this, but what do you think? And I would say not to my surprise, but to my chagrin, they all came back and said, no, we really prefer the old logo. And so I didn't push it because there's no point in throwing up a new logo on the lodge for a year and then just reverting back to the old pixelated one. And so what I said was, okay, here's one that looks a lot like the old one, but it doesn't have any of the quality issues that the old one had. So we're going to use that instead. And everybody was like, fine.
Change is good. Change is good.
The logo was awesome. Like the one I wanted to put up. It was
Well,
amazing.
be worshipful master again, and then you can put up all the logos you want. Boom.
That's true. But
There you go.
sustainable change, right?
Mm, do it for 2 years.
I'd like to stay
On
married.
that note, on that note,
On that note, go ahead and I think start wrapping it up here.
yeah,
It is
absolutely.
about that
So,
time.
you got a question, or you just want me to wing it?
I've got a final question. Yeah,
Hit me.
so Joe, your final question is what is the most important thing that a past master should do?
Ooh, okay. Have an answer.
Just one
So,
most important thing.
so the one most important thing that I think a past master should do, and I'm speaking from the experience of knowing past masters and knowing what I long for most out of them, not being one myself, is be honest with your counsel that you're giving to the master. Don't blow smoke up his rear. Don't sugarcoat things. If you have someone sitting in the chair and they're coming to you for help, they're coming to you for counsel, and they're coming to you for assistance, be honest and be fair with them. Remember that you were once there sitting in the chair and getting 10 million things shoved in your direction at one time. If you're busy and healthy in an active lodge, um, don't just tell them what they want to hear, because you're doing it to their detriment, you're doing it to your detriment, and you're not giving them the answers that they're looking for. um, and again, a master or another officer comes to you for counsel, give him that counsel, whether he wants to hear it or not. I think some of the best conversations that I have had with past masters are the open and the honest ones, not the attaboys and the that's a great idea, and then badmouth you 10 minutes later. The open, honest conversation, and just be fair with them and be honest with them. And I think you'll help them become a more successful master, and you'll be a more sought after and respected past master. And that's all I got. Peace.
Awesome. Thanks, Joe. So my answer to that question is something admittedly that I haven't followed. I think the most important thing that you can do as a past master is be present and available. Because, as someone who has been through the gauntlet and the fire, like you are in a unique position to mentor that new leader and shepherd that new leader and provide and whisper good counsel to that new leader. And that can be channeled into an amazing force for good. There's something to be said about the new leader being receptive to that, but regardless, you should still be present and be willing to offer that wise counsel to, especially to those who ask. And so, that's the show for tonight. Great conversation.
Woo!
Thanks so much, everybody, for watching. And please, please, please keep searching for more light. Good
Keep
night.
searching for more light.